In our days of 21st century technology, we can do all sorts of things that we never even dreamed of doing before. I can take out my cell phone and text you a message across the church. Don't try it. Or even across the world. And now I can even do that without typing in the characters on the keyboard because of something called voice recognition. I can speak into the device, and through some magic beyond my understanding, the sounds of my voice are automatically and instantly translated into the letters of the alphabet, and the words appear magically on my screen and on the screen of the person I have sent it to. Magic! Voice recognition. But there are two kinds of voice recognition used in the technological world of today. The one is known as speech recognition, where they know what is being said. The other is known as speaker recognition. They not only know what is being said, they know who is saying it. Speaker recognition is used very often in modern security devices, sort of like a lock and key. Voice recognition is something quite new to us in the world of technology, but it is something quite ancient to us in the world of humanity. We recognize the voices of one another, and this even extends into the animal kingdom. To me, one of the most fascinating animals is the elephant. Watching families of African elements is an amazing experience. Elephants have very few other animals who constitute a threat to them. But one of these few threats is the human being. People can kill elephants, and in many parts of the world have driven them almost to the brink of extinction. But not all human beings pose a threat to the elephants, and these creatures are able to tell the difference. Historically, in Africa, certain tribes have been known as the enemies of elephants because once in a while they go out and kill them. Other tribes have historically left them alone. Amazingly, the elephants can tell the difference. For a long time, scientists have known that elephants are able to distinguish between people of various tribes using their sight and their scent. They could tell the difference in their clothing, if they were wearing any, and they could tell the difference in the scent. But recently, a study was conducted by the University of Sussex in England, which has shown that elephants can also distinguish between the languages of the various tribes. They took two tribes, the Maasai, that wonderfully colorful tribe in Kenya and Tanzania that I have spent some time with, and the Kamba, another tribe rich in culture. The Maasai historically have sometimes been known to kill elephants, and the creatures know this. The Kamba never have. They are peaceful farming people. What these researchers did was have a Maasai man record his voice, not in a belligerent tone, but just in a peaceful tone, saying, "Look, there is a herd of elephants over there." And they had a Kamba man record the same words in his own language. When the Maasai words were played to the elephants, they huddled together in fear and sniffed the air suspiciously, knowing that these Maasai language words posed a threat to them. When the Kamba words were played, they didn't bother with them at all. They realized the difference between the voices of the two tribes. Now, this was absolutely amazing to the scientists. I don't think I would be able to tell the difference between the languages of those two tribes, but the elephants could. We are all familiar with voice recognition, most especially mothers. We all know the voice of the mother from the very beginning. Scientists have long known that even newborn babies can recognize their own mother's voice and prefer that voice to all others. Every mother here probably knows this. At the Pacific Lutheran University at Tacoma, Washington, a study was done which seems to show that even before birth, during the last 10 weeks in the womb, the child actively listens to its mother's voice and recognizes that voice. Today we hear about sheep hearing the voice of the shepherd and recognizing that voice. That is the voice the sheep will follow because they know it to be the voice of the shepherd. Of course, we know who these sheep are. Those sheep are you and I, following the Good Shepherd, following the voice of God. But how do we know it is God's voice speaking to us? So many have claimed to be speaking for God, claiming to be speaking with the voice of God. How do we recognize the true voice of God that we may follow it? Not everyone who gives birth is a true mother. I have known some horrors who have managed to give birth, but who have never been real mothers to their children. In the same way, not everyone who tends sheep is a true shepherd. Not every voice claiming to speak for God is God or even knows God. Most of history's worst atrocities were committed by people claiming to speak for God. There is nothing more dangerous. This has been true in every generation, including our own. It has been true of every flavor of religion, including our own. How do we recognize the voice of God and distinguish it from the voice of those merely pretending to speak for God? So many religious leaders of every creed incite hatred, intolerance, narrow-mindedness, twisting the words of whichever holy book they claim to follow to justify their own bigotry. Yet we see countless others ministering silently and selflessly to the poor, the oppressed, the downtrodden, the suffering. People whose very lives give witness to the God they adore. People who, without even opening their mouths, speak eloquently and clearly with the voice of the God of love. Which of the two looks more like the Christ, and which of the two looks more like the Pharisee? Which do we recognize as speaking with the true voice of God? Like the elephants, like the sheep, like the newborn babies, we too are programmed not only with speech recognition, but with speaker recognition. Instinctively, we know the voice of love, and deep in our heart, we can be certain that this, and only this, is the voice of God.